Well, hi. Today is Thursday, September 18th, 2025. I'm Todd Studer, and this is Morning Coffee. We have a very special episode for you today, and it begins with talking about an event that's coming up on Saturday in Council Bluffs. It is going to be the 5th annual You Are Loved Cornhole Tournament. And it's going to be taking place at a park on North 8th Street in Council Bluffs. But Tiffany Eggett heads up the organization You Are Loved, and she tells us about what this event is going to be, the very special recipient this year of the money that's going to be raised at the Cornhole Tournament, and also about her why behind the You Are Loved organization. And it's a powerful episode. It was a very touching conversation and very real and honest conversation. And I think it's important that we are willing to talk about these things. And I just want you to know that we're going to be talking about a son that Tiffany lost to suicide a number of years ago. So it's a strong topic. However, it's an important topic, and we need to be able to talk about this. And she talks about the support that she received, and also about why it is that she continues to do the work that she is doing. So that is coming up on today's episode of Morning Coffee. Like to let you know that cold weather's coming. You know that it's coming, and you need to get your furnace checked right now. Not when it's 0 degrees, and that's when you find out things aren't working the way that they should. So Air Serv Heating and Air Conditioning of Council Bluffs is ready to come out and do that furnace inspection, and you just need to get a hold of them and get it scheduled. If you are on their service plan, they've been calling, trying to get you signed up for it. So if you've been seeing calls from them on the caller ID, that's what it's about. Answer the phone. And airservcouncilbluffs.com is the website. If you can get a hold of them and be able to get that furnace inspection done now before it's cold, and it's a whole together different issue then. So airservcouncilbluffs.com is the website. If you need precision metal fabrication done right, Foxco Fabrication in Council Bluffs is the place to go. Custom welding, large-scale manufacturing, bringing your ideas to life with expert craftsmanship and cutting-edge technology. So whether it's industrial, commercial, or custom fabrication, they're going to get the job done on time and built to last. Proudly made here in Council Bluffs. Visit foxcofab.com. And if you or someone you love is in need of in-home care, Home Care Advocacy Network will help you maintain your own privacy in your own space while still receiving care and support with a personalized touch. Aging in place is critical for many people. Home Care Advocacy Network can meet those needs with an understanding that assisted living is best at home. Visit hcan.com/Southwest Iowa to learn more. So coming up very, very soon, it is the 5th annual You Are Loved Cornhole Tournament, and Tiffany Eggett is in to tell us more about it. Good to see you, Tiffany. How are you?
I'm fabulous. We were going to do this at the park, but Mother Nature had their plans for us today. But I am great, and I've never done a podcast interview before. I have never.
Have you ever done any kind of interview before?
Yeah, but not like a full interview like this. So I'm excited for it. Getting the word out.
Let me give you a little peek behind the curtain here.
Okay.
That all that these are recorded conversations.
Sure.
And it is a longer form to be able to talk about your event, to be able to talk about what it is that you support, and be able to let folks know a little bit more about it. So let's just start with what the event is and where it's going to be at.
So this is our 5th annual cornhole tournament. Why we do a cornhole tournament, I have really no idea. I'll kind of come back around to that. It's just something my family and I like to do, and we thought nobody does one of these, so let's do this. And so it started 5 years ago. Our first one was at Sternhill Park up on North 8th, which is where we're going to be again this year.
Which, by the way, I think is a great underused park, because I used to see it a lot back. I played softball. At the fields.
Everybody says that. Yep.
And so I would have my daughter over at the park. But
and there's a big soccer field back behind that.
Right. Yeah.
And it gets used daily. Like there are soccer teams up there
Mhm.
this time of year, every single day back there. Big, huge soccer field, and the city maintains it great. And it's like a quiet little gem. And I live right next to it. So this is really convenient for me. My granddaughters all think the park belongs to me.
You
Whatever.
don't correct
No. So we'll start registration about 11 o'clock. We'll start throwing bags about noon. We have our food truck is Street Side Foods this year.
Okay.
So they'll be up there. And then we'll have lots of raffles. So I've been collecting raffles all week. People have been dropping stuff off. They're going to continue to drop stuff off the next couple of days. We have TVs, we have grills, we have fire pits, we have outside fireplaces, and lots of individual raffles that everyone has dropped off. They range from $1 to $5. All the proceeds from the bags tournament itself, which if it's a team, it's $50. The winning team takes half the pot. And I can tell you right now, never has a winning team taken the pot.
Just
They've
doesn't
all,
happen.
no,
Yeah,
they've
always gets
all,
donated back.
last year was so great. We had TJ's quarterback, little Fuji boy. He
Yeah.
is such a sweet kid. Him and his brother won it last year.
Yeah.
High school kids. They didn't even hesitate. They're like, we don't want it. So, I love that. So all of the money from that and all of the money from the raffles are going to go to Isabel Jacob, who tragically lost her parents last month down in Glenwood. Their neighbor shot both of them and killed both of them in front of her, incidentally, which is horrific. And when we created You Are Loved, which we'll talk about that in a little while, where this came from, we never thought that we would be giving back to a child that lost both of her parents. But that's where we're at. Her mom, Stevie, Izzy's mom, Stevie, was in my Girl Scout troop down at Franklin
Really?
when she was a kid.
Yeah.
Such a sweet girl, smart and kind, and just so enjoyable to have in my troop for years. And so Izzy is now with her grandma, Cindy, who's in her late 60s, just retired. So as you can imagine, there's lots of expense that's going to go along with this. And so everything from the bags tournament itself, from the teams, and from the raffles, all of that will go to Izzy, 100% of it. And then we're also going to have a You Are Loved store, which we've always had some product, but we really went above and beyond this year. So we have shirts and crew necks and hoodies, tumblers, jewelry, um, backpacks, um, just some fun little You Are Loved items. And so we'll have a full store. So if you need your You Are Loved gear, which a lot of people get this time of year for Christmas. They're great Christmas gifts. So that will all be set up there as well. We have a couple other things we're working on that are hopefully going to pan out in the next couple of days. That'll be there as well. All donations can be made to the You Are Loved project at First Interstate Bank. Or if you want to donate just to Izzy all by itself, her actual account is at First Interstate as well, that you can donate directly to her fund that the family set up. We also have Venmo. You can reach out to me. My phone number is 402-201-7880. You can reach out to me as well if you have anything that you'd like to donate. We'll take donations right up to event. So, it's just a great time. It's such a fun, they're calling for nice weather. There's a lot of
Okay, hold on.
love. I know, knock on wood. There's a lot of love. We're going to have some past recipients. This last spring, we donated our 12th 1000th donation to a local family, which kind of leads me into, if you want to talk about You Are Loved as a whole.
That's where I was headed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in December of 2018, my youngest son, my youngest child, my only son, committed suicide 4 days after Christmas, Saturday afternoon. He was a kid who was loved by a lot of people. He grew up lucky, privileged, I would say. Got to participate in whatever he wanted to try. My husband at the time and we made sure our kids really felt loved. Not just our kids, we had that house that all the kids came to. Even when our own kids weren't there were kids there. We had that open door policy. And right before he turned 16, he walked across Roberts Park that he had spent his whole life playing in, where West Enders um, raised my kids. I was born and raised in the West End, raised my kids in the West End. So he's walking across Roberts Park to meet his friend Cam to come back to our house for a fire. It's late in September. Um, and a man had gotten into an argument with his wife and hung himself in a tree, 7 o'clock on a Friday night. And my son found him. And it was traumatic to say the least, but he was also 16, almost 16, and he was popular and he was smart. And I'm okay, mom. Stop making a big deal out of it. I'm okay, mom. I don't need to see anybody. Because I thought I'm gonna get him help, right? And so we tried that, and he really wouldn't open up about it. He just kept saying he was fine, he was fine. The following fall, our lives imploded when my marriage fell apart. And it was really difficult for Tristan um, to find a place where he felt safe any longer because there's just like one thing after another. The following year, so bam, 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 I decided I could no longer live in the house that I'd raised my children in, and I moved. He had graduated. He had a girlfriend. Um, I'm like, I need to find a safe place for me mentally because I was struggling with my own mental health. And so I sold the house and moved into a one-bedroom apartment. And it was just one more blow for Tristan because he was a homebody. He loved our house. It was just difficult. And he spiraled and really spiraled and got into some legal trouble, got into some trouble with drugs. Um, couldn't find a balance in his life. And no matter what we tried counseling, um, he went away for 10 days to do some heavy therapy. Nothing just seemed to work. And then it just got worse and worse. And he just fell down the rabbit's hole, started using some really heavy drugs. We knew he couldn't be around us with what he was doing with his life. And it was going to be the first Christmas he never got to be around all of us. In the meantime, he had had a child with his girlfriend. And it was difficult. And 4 days after Christmas, he chose to end his pain. And as hard as that is for us, we know he is no longer suffering because he was suffering. He was really hurt. He was really, really struggling with life in general. And he was so smart and so talented, and he had so many opportunities, but he was just broken. And so for me as his mom, I had to figure out what I was going to do with this pain, this unimaginable pain. And it's such a contradiction. I do some public speaking, and it's such a contradiction to be so and eternally broken to your core, but to also be surrounded by love. And so I found myself trying to do this balance act with I'm broken and I'm sad and I'm devastated for the loss of my son, but I'm also surrounded by such positivity and love and care. And so I turned with my daughters, my two daughters, Samantha and Sarah, and I said, I have to do something with my pain. I have to, or I'm not going to be able to get out of bed. And so I just kept playing over and over and over in my head that when somebody makes this decision to end their life at their own hands, they have to feel so unloved. And that really isn't the case. Usually they're loved so much that it's suffocating to them as well. And so, but that's where the You Are Loved project kind of came in. Our goal is to make sure that if a child loses a parent in the Potawatomi County area, we used to kind of just keep it located to Council Bluffs, and now we've known that we've really got to spread that out. So now we're like whole Pot County and even beyond that, because Izzy actually
Mills
lives
County.
in
Yeah.
Glenwood, so she's Mills County. So we're not now we're spreading it even farther to like whole Southwest Iowa, and because we have some great supporters and donors that they're kind of all over the place. So our goal is just because Tristan had the privilege to get to do anything he really wanted to try in life, he got to do that because he had two parents. When you take a parent out of the equation for a child, how do you make those extracurricular activities work? How do you make sure that a kid can stay involved? Because it's proven a child that's involved uh, succeeds farther with life in every aspect, which Tristan was. He just had circumstances that kept getting handed to him at a really hard age, an age where most boys are going through like the puberty stage for them. So emotions are running and hormones are going crazy, the whole nine yards. And so that's where this comes from. So our goal, because he did leave a child on this earth. She's the youngest of my granddaughters. I have six granddaughters right now, between the ages of 8 and 12. There's six of them. And Ava May is his and my youngest. She's always going to be taken care of. We know that. We're always going to make sure. But when you don't have that, what do you do? And so that's where it was created. Our goal is to help these children that have lost a parent continue to be able to do whatever. So our last family that we helped, three children, high school, junior high, and elementary. Dad died of a heart attack. The daughter, the middle child, the only daughter is the one in junior high, and she wanted to do competitive dance, and that's where we come in. And we give $1,000 and you can do whatever you want to do with it. Izzy's case is going to be a little different for us because she lost both parents. So we're not capping it. We're just 100% going to her. Whatever we make is going to her. But usually it's $1,000, and it's not just children. We've had to expand a little bit. It's not just children who have lost a parent. Things change, when you first create things, you think it's going to be set up a certain way, and we've had to adapt it a little bit. We have given to two different college kids. Well, one's a set of twins, and the other was a kid all by himself. They were going to Iowa Western. They had scholarships, which is great, but that doesn't pay for everything. And so we were able to help them set up everything they needed for their dorms because there's a lot that goes into that. So we did that. And so we've tweaked it a little bit. We do have a board that everything goes through them to make sure that the decisions that we're making are right. And we're very, very lucky that we get to do this. So that's that part of You Are Loved. The other is the public speaking on breaking the stigma of mental health, especially when it comes to men.
Yeah.
Because his story shouldn't end at 22. And as his mom, it's my responsibility, right? I'm his mother. I will always be his mom. And so it's my responsibility to continue his story. I have to continue his story. So that means that I can have a conversation with you, Todd, or talk to the teachers in the Council Bluffs Community School District, or participate in a mental health event at Bayless Park and tell people that it's okay if you're feeling broken or lonely or hurt or whatever it might be, that there's resources and we help with all of that. What guidance can we give you? What help can we give you? I've met some of the most amazing people on this journey. Cassie and Dave Lawrence, who I know you've interviewed. Our paths crossed before Tristan died. Um, my path with Cassie in a professional standpoint. And when I lost Tristan, She was very sweet and very kind and wanted to know how to help. Little did we know, a year and a half later, I'd be knocking on her front door, wanting to know how I could help them. We do a lot of stuff together, and I don't think I could have walked this journey without people like them. Joanna Lutz, who is the principal at Wilson Junior High. Her son Eric took his life about 3, 4 months before Tristan. I had gone to an event to support her before Tristan ever died because she had this little fundraising thing to help cover the cost of people that needed assistance for seeking any kind of mental health. And so, in her son's honor, she had created the Eric Lutz Fund. So, I had gone to that. Little did I know, a month later, I would be, getting the phone call or the knock on the door, really, from a detective about my own son. So Joanna and I are deeply connected. We've gone to Texas to do it's called Memory Grows, a fantastic organization out of the Fort Worth area, specifically designed for parents who have lost children, not just to suicide. So another great connection. Um, there's a local judge and his wife. She's in education. I've met them through all of this. They lost their son. So just so many connections that I've made through this journey that I am so fortunate for that and for the help that I get with them and what I can do for their whatever platform they're on has been amazing.
I'm having a kind of a coming full circle moment here right now
Okay.
because the very first podcast that I ever attempted, this goes back to 2019,
Okay.
and I wanted to do a podcast on something that people didn't like to talk about,
Mm.
which is this subject.
Mm.
And
Suicide or mental health?
suicide
Okay.
specifically. And the reason for it is because some people close to me had this happen in their family. And I thought that a big reason why this kind of operates in the shadows, and I think it was even more true then than it is now. I mean, we're talking about over 6 years ago now,
Mm-hmm.
was that people didn't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
That it was, oh, if you talk about it, you're encouraging it. You're
Mm.
putting the idea into somebody's head. And
Such
I
crap.
said, no, this is not true.
No.
That is not the
No.
case.
No.
So
It's happening whether you talk about
yes,
it or not. It is an
right.
epidemic.
So I came up with, we were looking for a name for it,
Mm.
and eventually we settled on the name Notai, which is Notai. It's an Italian word that means noticed, but I was using it as an acronym for
Okay.
No One Talks About It.
Oh.
And the fact that
We did not know this.
no, I know this is something
Yeah.
we didn't talk about this ahead of time. And to be honest with you, I did a few episodes,
Mhm.
and then we got extreme pushback and threatened lawsuit
That's unfortunate.
because of someone who had agreed to be a guest on the show, and then because he didn't like how he was portrayed, even though it was just a conversation like we're having now, he threatened to sue me.
Mm.
And I pulled the plug on it because, it was, I'm not set up for that.
No.
I was,
You don't have that kind of money, right?
no, I didn't have any kind of money. So
No.
that's why the plug got pulled on that.
Mhm.
And just that quickly, and because stigma is a big part of it.
Yeah.
This is somebody that was in the middle of it that is perpetuating the stigma.
Oh.
And so the fact that you are out here right now and you are talking about it and you just walked into this room
Yeah.
and we're comfortable, hey, I'm telling my story
Oh, yeah.
and this is how it is.
Yeah.
And that to me says progress.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
I want somebody to challenge me as a mother who buried her only son, you want to come at me in any direction you want to come at me, but I will always be the bereaved parent.
Yes.
So I will always have a step ahead of you when it comes to this, which is a weird thing to say, but it is the truth. Like, and I realized that early on that I had a platform. I also am a proud Council Bluffs native.
Mhm.
I know no different than this town. And I am also extremely proud of this town. But I'm also very sad with the progression that this town has taken. There has been an uptick in suicide deaths since probably 2016 in Council Bluffs. It happened again just this summer. Kid from AL, 17 years old, right up the street from here, right across the street from his mother's house, up by the Black Angel. So it's happening. How are we going to stop it? I am a firm believer that NAMI is working really hard in this area. They have some amazing members of their team that are trying to reach the kids. We're trying to get into maybe the junior high setting. That's a really hard setting.
Yeah.
That's a really hard time. And so we're all of us as moms, there's just this big group of moms. And then we got Dave, of course, Dave, because he's amazing, that we're not going to back down. We're going to keep pushing forward on this so that there's open communication, because what you just said is happening in the schools. They are so afraid that we're bringing something new to these kids, that we might be encouraging them. These kids have social media. They have their friends. They have life in general. They know what suicide is. I had this conversation with somebody not too long ago. I can remember I was in high school at TJ before I ever heard of someone that had committed suicide. It's the way of life now. These kids know what suicide is in elementary school. Do we want that? No. But it's here. Like, what are we going to do to try and combat it and try and educate these kids that they don't have to make a permanent decision to a temporary problem? Because that's what it is.
Well, and it feels permanent at the time.
It does.
And you know, this is a really heavy conversation, but I think it's also an important conversation, because if we shy away from that, then all we're doing, that is what perpetuates it. Because, and again, you know how I feel about NAMI. I sit on the
Yep.
board.
Yep.
They've known for a long time that
Yep.
if you ask me to do something, it's yes, and then we figure out how I can help.
Yeah.
But I believe that when a young person, if they speak it out loud, and which is not common, they don't often, but if they do, don't tell them you're wrong to feel that way. No, they're having a real life experience, and they need to know, listen, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that you're feeling this. Let's talk about that specifically, because it's a human experience that they're having.
And I think, would you agree that a lot of times when you're caught up in a event in your life, whether it's excitement or fright, or you're mentally damaged at that particular moment, do you feel like you can have a better conversation with somebody who might relate to it and who might have lived that experience than somebody that wouldn't?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
You
right.
know, you don't want to hear how wrong you are for feeling that
Right.
way. What you want to hear is, here's somebody that's walked this path and maybe is still walking this path. And that's where NAMI and their peer support is so important.
It is.
Because it is groups that are facilitated by somebody that's already been on that road.
Right.
Maybe they're still on that road to a certain degree, but it's oftentimes, if we feel that we cannot see the path in front of us,
Yeah.
we just need somebody that's got a better view,
Right.
somebody that has more of a perspective. It's an analogy that I've used often, such as today. As we were recording this, it's a very cloudy day.
Yeah.
The sun is still up there.
Yeah.
We just can't see it
That's
right
right.
now.
That's right.
But there are people that can.
Yeah.
So let's lean on them.
Yep.
Let's trust them. And even if we're not feeling it right now, know that you can walk the path with
That's
me.
100%.
We can walk together and we're going to go find it.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, you got a battle buddy that's
That's right.
going to stand here right next to you as you are experiencing this. I'm not going to judge you for it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to let you say what you need to say, however dark that might be. I'm going to let you say it
Yeah.
because this is how we can. Oftentimes, when we get stuck in our own heads, and you're turning me into get me on a soapbox
No,
here,
yeah.
but we get into our own heads,
We
and
are our own worst enemy.
yes, and what in there, nothing good's happening in there. I think that I can reason my way out of
Mhm.
this, but the reality of it is that I'm just in a spin cycle, and
Yeah.
it's just one negativity thing after another. Got to stop that. Got to step
Mhm.
out from that, and to be able to um, see someone that has already been there. Wait a minute. And this is true for a lot of different things.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
I remember 16 years ago when I quit smoking, I was part of a smoking cessation group online, and I met someone who was 6 weeks ahead of me in quitting. He'd quit 6 weeks before I did. So mentally, I just kind of hitched my wagon onto his, and I
Sure.
said, if he can make it that far, I can at least get that far.
Yeah.
It's the same with mental health, or if someone is just the suicidal ideation, or maybe they're actually going down that hole a little bit deeper.
Mhm.
It's find someone that's been on that path. And if you talk about stigma, and stigma has become its own cliche to where we
Yeah.
just ignore the word now,
Yeah.
but it still
It's
exists.
the cynical world sometimes that we
Yeah.
live in as well.
Yeah, you know, and they say, well, here's somebody that had the same experiences that
Yeah.
this person did, and they didn't do that.
Right.
So
I actually have had somebody say that to me, like,
yeah, that's it's oh my.
you offered your son a lot. He should have taken that. Well, it's not that he didn't take it. I mean, like I said, we had him at Center for Hope, and he tried the medicines. The problem with the medicines, especially with someone with mental illness and depression or whatever it is, it takes a while for those to kick in. Well, by then he had already started using drugs, and so he wanted that quick fix, and it was never quite quick enough for him. And then he would just spiral, back down. I really just think it's interesting because he took his life in a house in Council Bluffs. They actually had to take his body to Ankeny. I mean, I'm getting deep here, but he had to take his body to Ink. They did, and so the state medical examiner contacted me and said, "I have him, and I'm going to take good care of him. We will run a full toxicology." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I fear what you might find." And so because I'm his next of kin, all of that came to me, I don't know, a month later after, yeah, it was probably late January when I got it. And I looked at that envelope and I thought, yeah, I'm not ready for this today, And so I did let my daughters know, and then we had dinner, and a couple weeks later and we opened it up, and I was really surprised at the fact that his toxicology report only had a small amount of marijuana in it, nothing else. So it wasn't that he was like strung out. He was clear-headed. He just was broken. He really didn't feel like there was ever going to be a good outcome for him.
Mhm.
So when I look at that as at his mom, and I think, what could I have said to him? Because I actually missed a phone call from him that morning, something else that, I will always have to struggle with. But what could I have said to him, or what should I have said to him that morning had I had the opportunity, to say something? And I would have just gone right back to where I'm at, which is, Tristan, you are so loved. We will work this out together. And I think as a parent, I think any of the parents that I have met along this journey would say that to their daughters and their sons. We will work this out. Is it going to be easy? Mm-mm. It's going to be tough, but we have the support. It's there, and there is a ton of support. Just not everybody knows where to turn to. So then, when like Dave and Cassie Lawrence and they have the Fly High sale on, when they have these events in the spring at Bayless, the amount of people that come to it every year gets bigger and bigger. And so I know we're making a difference. I know that we're all making a difference. I just, I will always just go back to making sure that whoever it is, that they just know. The very first thing that we did with You Are Loved was start a Facebook page. We quickly realized we needed to make it private. So you actually have to friend me, and then I will invite you to the page, because early on we were getting some really hard um, messages and statements. And I'm like, okay, I'm not a licensed medical healthcare provider, neither are my daughters. I don't want to put us in that scenario, because again, I don't need somebody coming after us and suing us or anything. So that has always been, and we have, I don't even know how many followers on that at this point in time. Probably close to 2,000. Um, uh, if I go out to eat and I write on my receipt, like my credit card receipt, I write "You Are Loved" on it to every single person that's waiting on me. And I have had wait staff just right here at Caddy's. One day I did that. And all of a sudden the girl came back and she's standing there at the table, and I'm sitting there with my friend chatting, and I look up and she's crying, and I'm like, are you okay? And she said, "Are you Tristan's mom?" Which I still, to this day, it'll be 7 years. I still, when somebody says that, "Are you Tristan's mom?" I'll still be like, "Oh, yeah, I'm Tristan's mom." Um, and she just said, "I struggled all the way to work today on whether I wanted to be here anymore. And you just left me that message." So, his little voice um, will always be there for somebody, whether it's through his mom or his sisters or his aunts or all of the people that are part of the You Are Loved project. His story is just not done. So, I'll keep trying to help that next kid or their parent or their sibling, whatever it might be. Um, we'll just keep telling this story and seeing how we can help them, and whatever direction we need to go. So
Well, your opportunity to help that next
yeah,
kid is coming up on
Saturday.
Saturday,
Yep.
September 20th. And it's going to be at Sternhill Park. It's on North 8th Street, 1201 North 8th Street. Plug it into your
Yeah.
GPS and it will get you there. And all of the money raised going to Izzy
Yeah.
down in Glenwood.
That's right.
And this is what we do in a community.
That's right.
We support each other. When something bad happens, we pull together. We've seen it over and over again.
This community is great for
Yeah,
doing that.
that's what happens here. So, Tiffany, thank you for being willing to come out and share your story. I know that you've talked about it before, but
Yeah.
still, this is not hard. Thank you for using present tense when talking about Tristan.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
And we're gonna see if we can't get a few more people to know about this and to stop on Saturday. And
Thanks, Todd.
we're grateful that you took time to jump on the program with us.
I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me and let me have a little platform for a bit to tell his story and to tell everybody about You Are Loved. And I will always say this: I end everything, every comment, every post, just making sure that you're loved. I hope you know that.
That's it. Can't do any better than that. I am a believer that these are topics that we need to talk about. We need to let folks know that they're not alone, and there are people walking that journey with them. So, please, if you are experiencing any of the things that Tiffany and I were talking about today, reach out, get help. NAMI Southwest Iowa is a great source to start the journey, and especially if you just need some peers to be able to talk about. They have peer support groups. So NAMISouthwestIowa.org is that website. And I would encourage you to reach out and get that process started. Coming up very, very soon, you're going to see me in an Iowa State shirt. And that's because I lost a bet that I didn't even make. Bryce Taylor with GLI Insurance Group. He is the friend that he and I go out and do a restaurant highlights from time to time. Another one's coming up very, very soon, by the way. And I'm going to be wearing that Iowa State shirt. Why? Because the Hawkeyes couldn't beat the Cyclones this year in the Cyhawk game. That puts me in that shirt. So look forward to that coming up next week. And also get a hold of Bryce Taylor with GLI Insurance Group for your insurance needs, a local and family-owned independent insurance group that's been helping people find the best possible plan for them for over a decade. You know, Service Master Restorer by Schmader knows how hard it is to get back to normal when a disaster has struck. Could be a flood, fire, or smoke. You can have all kinds of questions about how am I getting all of this back to normal again? That's why you need to get a hold of Service Master Restore by Schmader. They can restore your space by offering quality and commercial residential restoration services right here in Council Bluffs and the surrounding area. That's Service Master Restore by Schmader. And S&B Country Kennel has an event coming up this weekend on the 20th. It's the end of summer bash, and you can learn all about it at sbcountrykennel.com, the top spot in Southwest Iowa when you need to know your dog will receive only the best. Boarding, daycare, grooming, self-washing, training, and even a membership available to a dog park over an acre in size. They're located just west of I-29 on Bunkie Avenue, south of Council Bluffs. That is S&B Country Kennel. Wrapping up today's show, thank you so much for being a part of things. We got another day to go before the end of the week. My name's Todd Studer. Have a great Thursday.